before Mr. Hillstrom tells you about the compare and contrast, I'm going to do a little history lesson here. All right, South Africa started out, the ships used to have to go all the way around, all right? Dutch farmers came down here. This is like San Diego. It's pretty sweet, all right, with rich farmland, water's plentiful, they're farming, and the British are fine with that because they're buying all the fresh produce, fresh meat, getting barrels of water, loading it up on their way to India. Everyone's happy until gold is discovered. All right, then the British pour in. The British and the Dutch have a war called the Boer War, which in Boer in Dutch means farmer. All right, the British win and the Boers are pushed inland, and then they're taking land from the Bantu, the Zulu, 5 or 6 different ethnicities, and huge animosity, all right, because of that. And that's what Mr. Hillstrom's going to talk about here.
So if we're thinking about, race and ethnicity, there's a lot more black people than white people, okay? The Dutch are in charge down here, but there's way more black people. So how did the Dutch maintain control? Well, what they did was they developed this really harsh system of separation called apartheid, okay? And what it was at birth, you're separated into a racial category. So brown, yellow, white, black, okay? And they created these homelands, these which we'll talk about in the next one, or these townships, and you were not allowed to leave that specific township without written permission from the government. Okay, so the Dutch were very harsh in enforcing this apartheid system, and that allowed them to maintain control. So Trevor Noah, you guys know from The Late Show, okay, he grew up in South Africa, and he wasn't allowed to see his dad. His dad was white, his mom was black, and he couldn't leave to go to the other township, to even get to know his dad as he was growing up. And so his dad would have to sneak him in, okay, and all these different things. And another thing that allowed them to separate the Africans were the different ethnicities. So if you listen to Trevor Noah's book, or you read his book, you know that there are, 11, 12 different languages, something like that, in South Africa. That represents different tribes, different ethnic groups that maybe don't get along. Okay, so it goes back to that idea of divide and conquer. Okay, here you can see, a fountain for white people, a fountain for colored people, and you guys know a little bit about Jim Crow laws in the South. That's another reason why a lot of sharecroppers were leaving, was they didn't have rights in the South. There were lynchings that were taking place, right? And so separate but equal, but not really equal. Okay, but over here in South Africa, even more harsh than it was in the United States. Okay, all right. So this one is showing you the different homelands, and you can see that racial segregation is basically justified by pushing all of one race into one specific area, and then basically trying to keep them there. Okay, so the thing about this is that it doesn't go away in just one generation. So in the 1960s, where we're finally starting to have some more equality in terms of civil rights for African Americans, in the 1960s, apartheid is roaring, okay? It's just going full bore. And it's not until 1991 that apartheid eventually, disbands and splits apart. But what happens is, racism doesn't go away in one generation, right? All of the geographic aspects, because you have just all of the blacks here, you don't pour any money into that area, you have all the brown people here, you pour, a lot less money into that area. Those townships, those areas remain poor. And like we said, some of them have even developed into, countries or states, right? And so we'll talk more about that next time. All right. And then anything you want to add? No? Okay. And then here, Mr. Rai is going to talk a little bit about conflicts between ethnic groups. Okay, so ethnicities and nationalities, occasionally you'll have them mixed. They'll be the same. But remember, this one very close to religion. Okay, this one ethnicity is it's culture, right? It's the language, it's your religion, it's your the food you eat, the clothes you wear. All of those things tie into your ethnicity. This one has to do with, where are you voting? Which flag are you, saluting? Where's your driver's license from? That type of thing. Okay, and so we'll talk about different examples of that, and then also different examples of conflicts between ethnic groups.
Okay, so ethnicity does not always correspond to nationality. When my generation was younger, people would ask you what nationality you were, and you'd say, well, I'm an American, okay? And they're like, no, but what are you? All right, well, that's the difference. Your nationality is what nation, what country you live in. So we are Americans, and then ethnicity is just that kaleidoscope of different things that we are from our parents, grandparents, and whatnot, all right? And even like something as distinct as Mexico, you're going to see people in the southern part of Mexico that are the Chiapan Native American ethnic group. They're Chiapan. They don't consider themselves Mexican first. They're Mexican citizens. That's their country, but they consider themselves Chiapan first. So some people can feel very strongly about that. We're a multi-ethnic state with a lot of different ones. So, and Canada is the same. We don't really see ourselves as our ethnic group first. We see ourselves as United States citizens, Americans first. Canadians feel the same way, all right? In Canada, you guys did a question on Quebec and how they feel very strongly about being French. And just in the 1990s, they almost voted to go independent. I would say today, well, no, I know today they've done surveys talking about another referendum or plebiscite, and the people have said, no, we're Canadian first. The majority, over 50%, all right? And then in the United Kingdom, that's what's crazy is you're the United Kingdom, England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, all right? Great Britain used to include Ireland before it went independent, but they'll consider themselves Scottish, Welsh, Irish, or English first. All right, and so that's like a nation of people. And we've talked about stateless nations. You've got the Kurds are a nation of people, but they don't have a state, a country. The Palestinians are a nation of people, an ethnic group that does not have a country. And then I always joke that the Raider Nation, you are a group of people. Are you West Oakland? Are you Vegas? What are you? Okay, it gets confusing. All right. Okay, and as I was talking about England, you've got the British Isles. This used to be Great Britain. Then when Ireland broke away, it was the United Kingdom. We talked about Northern Ireland. This is the industrial area, the prosperous area. So the British wanted to keep that, okay? But people will see themselves as Welsh first, English first, Scottish first, Irish first, all right? But they consider themselves part of the United Kingdom, okay? All right. You would never hear, I don't think you'd hear somebody from Wales, Ireland, or Scotland calling themselves British. I don't think so. I think they'd say they're UK, but I don't think you'd ever hear them say British. That's English.
Especially not at a football game.
Yeah, okay. All right. One thing, how am I doing on time?
Good. Yeah,
okay. Remember when I was thinking about who would immigrate into India for work? What it is the Hindu people down here in Sri Lanka and Hindu people over here in Bangladesh. And at least we get an arrow here. This is a map that's showing about when Great Britain left in 48, all right? This was all India, but the Muslim population said, we're screwed, all right? We're the minority. We're never going to have any rights. So they wanted their own country. So it actually started out as West Pakistan and East Pakistan were one country, all right? And then in the 70s, Bangladesh became their own independent group. But tens of thousands of people died in this migration because you'd imagine thousands of people walking along and then somebody sees over there and goes, hey, that guy killed my cousin 30 years ago. And he throws a rock and then all chaos would break loose. All this animosity from years past. But there was a huge flow of people trying to get to their new homeland back in 48. Did they give us a year here? No. Okay.
47, but
47?
close enough.
That was close. Okay. All right.
That was
and
me.
then here you can see this.
That was me.
Oh, you're it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I love that one.
You can chime in. This is America, okay? Because I'm going to go back to your slide here and just tell you that this is we talked about the British essentially colonizing all of India, right? And Gandhi, because I'm getting into world history a little bit here, but Gandhi had this vision that the Muslims and the Hindus would be able to coexist peacefully, right? But it never really happened. There's too many ethnic and religious sort of differences, and so they always were in conflict with each other years and years and years. And when the British came in, they ruled with a heavy hand, okay? And they kept the peace, but basically through force, okay? So when the British are like, hey, see ya, bye, they're like, okay, all you Muslims over there, you guys go to Pakistan, okay? And if you're Muslim on this side, get out of here. You go to Bangladesh, right? And if you're Hindu, you can stay here in the middle of the country, okay? But do they ever completely go away? No. Okay, Mr. Wright yesterday was telling you guys that there's a large Muslim population still in India. Okay, now what's happened is, especially recently, there's a prime minister there who's trying to make it just a Hindu nation essentially, and so Muslims who are living in India are starting to lose a lot of rights and a lot of their freedoms and things. The other thing I want to show you really quick is this is the Ganges River, right? The hair of Shiva. So remember Himalayan mountains, right? Holy Hindu site, okay? Holy Hindu site, right up there, okay? All right, so Mr. Wright loves this one. I love it too because he's taught me so much about it. This area right here is the northern part of India, and this is the area called Kashmir and Jammu that is disputed. So after the migration that he talked about, okay, right in that area there, okay, all right. So two different perspectives, okay. The Pakistani side, they think that this area should belong to them. Now help me out, Mr. Wright. Where exactly do they think should be theirs?
Well, they think that Kashmir should be theirs because 2/3 of the population is Muslim.
Is Muslim. So they're like, look, we've got the numbers. This Kashmir should belong to us. Okay? And the Indians are like, no, you guys are going to mess it all up, right? You Pakistanis, you don't know how to govern things like us Indians, right?
Well, it was gifted to an Indian prince. He wasn't even from the area.
Okay, yeah. But they don't even have like the same amount of people, right? But it's also maybe a power thing too, right?
Well, it's like Lake Tahoe.
Yeah, it's beautiful, right? Yeah. We're going to hold on to this, okay? Now, so both sides fighting over this area, Kashmir. Just to complicate things, there's like 25 million, I think, Sikhs who live in that area as well, okay, and have fought over it.
Ooh, because look where Amritsar is, right down there.
Ooh, that's the Golden Temple. Yeah. That's right. Hopefully you watched the video. It's a good video, all right? Anything else on this before we move along?
Well, for years we've worried that if World War III was going to start, it was going to start right here. India's a nuclear power, Pakistan's a nuclear power. There's been times when 500,000 troops have been facing each other with live ammo. And all it would take was one guy to pull a trigger and it's going to start.
And weren't there, like last year, there were like planes that were flying over, yeah. Right? And scary. Okay. All right. Kurdistan. So my kids hear about the Kurds. And let's go back just a little bit and talk about where they're from. So here is Turkey, okay? This used to be something called the Ottoman Empire, right? So World War I, remember we talked about there were a lot of Muslims who went up into Germany, okay? And during World War I, the Ottoman Empire and Germany, they were on the same team, okay? They were fighting against the British and the French and the Russians, okay? So after the Ottoman Empire breaks apart, this one ethnic group called the Kurds, they believe that they're going to get their own homeland, okay? The Allied powers, the folks who won, they're like, yes, we're gonna hook you up, okay, with Kurdistan. Well, the people of Turkey, they felt threatened. They're like, well, if you carve up our land, it's like some kind of like Western